I was so worried about how I would pay for my mortgage if I never sold another house again.
Like, it probably is confusing for a lot of people on why somebody that is a homeowner would leave the home that they own.
Buying a house does not make you successful.
Yo, YouTube, welcome to the Credit CEO channel, Home Buying Remorse. Let's talk about it.
Buyer's remorse, aka cold feet, is not talked about enough when buying a house, especially when it's your first house. It's a feeling of regret, maybe a little bit of uneasiness, basically exactly how I felt in my last video. So now that I'm feeling better about my home purchase, let's talk about how I got over buyer's remorse. First off, I really thought about the concerns that I had and how they would affect my life, whether I was renting or buying. For example, I was so worried about how I would pay for my mortgage if I never sold another house again. But if I'm renting and I never sell a house again, then I still have to pay my rent. So what's the difference? Second, I made a pros and cons list if I were to buy a house and if I continue to rent. For example, all of my rent money right now is going to my apartment complex. When I buy a house, all of my mortgage money is gonna go to me. So years from now, when I'm ready to sell it, I'll have all this money built into this house for me. I can cash it out and probably buy something nicer. If I keep renting, I'm basically draining my bank account. Also, where I'm renting, I have to pay all these ridiculous fees. For example, I pay for a trash valet service every month. Do I ever use it? No. I can't paint my walls. I can't make any changes. I can barely put holes in the wall. I can hear every move my neighbors make because the walls are so thin. And lastly, I just keep looking at pictures of my place. It's perfect. It's everything I wanted. And then the excitement starts to take over. This all made me realize that my net worth and my quality of life will be so much better if I just buy. If you're a first-time home buyer, don't be afraid of buyer's remorse. But if you catch it, you can always get rid of it.
Big screen. All right, so she made a couple good points. It was a W video. I really love it. It's 100% her perspective, but I think we got to understand how much of your mortgage actually goes to you and how much it goes to actual interest. When you first purchase your house, most of the money that you put in towards your house is not going to you. It's to pay back the bank and their loan or whoever you got the loan with. All right, so that's number one. So if you don't keep your house for more than 15 years, the majority of your money is actually not going towards the principal, it's actually going towards the interest. So hypothetically, if your house, and I know I'm about to use a small number, so don't kill me in the comments. If you purchase a house and your monthly payments is $1,000, from the time you start, it's probably going to be $999 of that money is probably going to go back to paying the interest, and then $1 is going to go back to paying the house. And then as the months and months and months go on, more of that principal actually you start to put that towards your house. She is right in a sense that, you know, she's paying herself now instead of paying a mortgage company. And then point number two, have you guys ever had trash valet service? I didn't have trash valet service until about the pandemic, because that's when I started renting out my houses and everybody was paying me a lot of money for my houses. But when you go to take your trash and you just put it outside the door, and then in the morning when you wake up, the trash is gone, that's trash valet service. I don't know why she ain't using it. I loved it. Another point to what she was making was, of course, you can, if you miss your payments, whatever, you have late dings on your credit, and then you could potentially go into foreclosures if you don't make all your payments, which makes it harder to buy another house. But I think that's assuming that, you know, you're not responsible for your bills. But I think she's a responsible person. But I believe that some people just don't want a house because they don't want the responsibility. Kind of like this next girl that's about to come up.
In about a month, I'm moving from the home that I own in Washington, D.C., and I'm moving back into an apartment. And I feel like in this economy, this home, like, purchasing economy, like, it probably is confusing for a lot of people on why somebody that is a homeowner would leave the home that they own to go rent an apartment, especially with rent prices being crazy. But honestly, it's the best decision for me and my daughter, and I'm gonna go through the reasons, but honestly, I feel like the list is endless.
All right, guys, before she go on the list, in the comments, what do you think the number one reason is that she wants to not be a homeowner anymore and she wants to go back to renting? Go ahead and put y'all predictions in and no cheating.
Okay, number one, I am a single woman, a single mother, and I feel like living in a house, you have a little less security than you do when you live in a large apartment building that has like secured entry, a doorman, maybe even like a security personnel on staff, cameras everywhere. And I feel very vulnerable in my home at times. And look, I have a security system. Shout out ADT. Not sponsored, but go ahead and do it if you'd like. I have Ring cameras, but I just feel like it's not the same as having the extra level of security that you have living in a large building. So for instance, I do go on dates and I date people, and I feel like you can Google someone and figure out their address pretty quickly, especially when you're a homeowner. There's just like databases where that information is publicly available. And so if someone got really weird after a date, like, what are you gonna do? Is somebody gonna be waiting for me outside my house? Well, I don't know. And I've had really weird situations where I felt uncomfortable. And I drive up to my house and be like, okay, I hope that guy's not here. He was being really weird in text today. He's sounding weird. Hope he's not outside, because if he is, like, what am I gonna do? So that's one. And these are kind of the things that you think about when you're a single woman that I feel like other people don't have to think about. But that is something I think about, and I think about it enough that I'm just over it. On, like, to that point, we're going to stay on that point for now, and maybe this will be like a few videos, but like, even when someone delivers something to your house, people are weird, and once they know who lives there, like, there's nothing you could do about it. You're just there, you're just on your own, and someone has your address. So I don't like the safety aspect of it, and maybe it's just where I live, but I'm not feeling that. The second thing is, like, my house was built in 1942. I mean, you can see I try to do a little something in here, just a little something. But at the end of the day, unless you like a home that's a little bit older, if you like that aesthetic, look, if you like that aesthetic, you'll be happy. I thought that I could buy this house at a lower price and slowly update it to my liking, and I haven't been able to. It's way more time intensive than I ever anticipated. And that means that I have to find like every fixture, find a person that's reliable to come do it. When a professional comes to do something, they always uncover like 67 other things that need to be done for this one item to be fixed. And it's very overwhelming managing that when I have so much other stuff going on. And I feel like I'm tired of being responsible for this stuff. I miss having a maintenance man. Like, having maintenance is so underrated. Like, for instance, the handle on my storm door broke off due to cold weather. The mail delivery person like went to open it. It was locked. It like snapped because it's like old and it was cold. And it has taken me months to find the specific door handle that fits on this screen door. So I have not had a door handle on my screen door for months. And if I lived in a building with maintenance, something like this would have been fixed in a week. I'm getting annoyed just thinking about it, guys. Okay, so that's that. I mean, the number of things you need to upkeep when you're a homeowner is insane. I think another issue that I just really didn't want to deal with that I thought that I did was like the landscaping. So even in DC, where I have a small plot, the front yard and backyard are overwhelming. So, I mean, I have people who mow the grass, but then the people who mow the grass don't necessarily do like other maintenance on the yard. So like weeding and things like that are something that I'd have to do. And if I don't have time to do it, it gets out of control. Besides the weeding and stuff, like if you want to plant like annual flowers, like whatever, like it's just a lot of stuff to deal with. And I have like way too much going on. And I feel like I wasn't prepared when I bought this house. I think like people will tell you that it's important to be a homeowner, but they are not realistic about how much work and responsibility goes into home ownership outside of just, oh, you're building equity. I feel like I've already talked too much, but I'm happy to make like a part 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 on why owning isn't everything that I want it to be. And I'm like counting down the days until I get back into an apartment, even if it's going to cost more, even if other people think it's stupid, even if it's throwing away money. I'm counting down the moments.
Big screen. Before I get into it, I just gotta let y'all know, man, I'm from South Carolina. I have a small South Carolina education, and I got a couple questions. All right, number one, for the 20 women that watch this channel, because I don't think there's many women, how hard is it really being a single woman? Because I don't know, I'm gonna have to talk to my wife, because I didn't know that, you know, dating and people trying to stalk you and even people delivering your package can be like something that like raises your antennas, especially when you single with a kid. Let me know about that in the chat, because I think that's bringing unwanted anxiety, and I think that's partly the reason why she's trying to leave her house. Now, I believe that 99% of her problems, and it's just me being from South Carolina, 99% of her problems can be solved from having a man in the house. A good man at that, though. They can't be just anybody. Me, if a door handle break, boy, I'm going to Lowe's, I'm going to Home Depot. I'm trying to find any reason to buy a new power tool. But that's just me. You know what I'm saying? That, I guess that's, you know, guys from South Carolina get you one. Number two, unless she's in a historic district, renovation should be quite easy. But other than that, a lot of her problems is coming from expectation. And when you expect something to be this way, you expect something to be that way, and then it's not, you kind of turned off from it. And that's where we're supposed to be learning from our parents or grandparents who owned a home. We're supposed to talk in depth with them about what home ownership really is and why it should be used. Like that first lady, when she was talking about it, she was like, yeah, I'm building equity, whatever. But this lady right here, she said nothing about equity. She just got the ick. She was like, oh, this is, I don't like this, I don't like that. But it's a lot more I can say for that video, but I'm just gonna try to keep it as short as I did just now, and that wasn't even short. So let's get to this next one.
I'm going to be really controversial when I say this, and I'm talking to all of our parents out there. Buying a house does not make you successful. Don't worry, I did it by myself at 30, and so I'm going to walk you through why I would never fucking do it again. Specifically in California or LA.
All right, first off, don't talk about my parents like that. And I did it before 30. So don't even act like that's a flex.
And I mean by myself. You know, I signed those documents as a single woman, first and last name, because that's how they do it. If you have a partner that would split that with you, I think that's a completely different story. Again, bought my house by myself in LA. Let's go over the pricing. I bought a townhouse in LA. A 1-bedroom, 1.5 bathroom. It was $465,000. I bought it in 2021 because I thought that was going to be the cheapest thing possible. I had an interest rate of less than 3%. It was 2.99%. Things that I could not have factored in. HOA increasing. My HOA from month 1 went to $299, and then year 3 went to $486. The reason I'm talking about this is because my house is on the market. I am selling it for $535, okay? So I'm gonna minus broker's fees, improvements, escrow fees, title insurance, and corrective worker repairs. With that being all added up, my profit at the end of the day for 4 years is $15,206. I put 10% down. That's $46,000, okay? If I would have taken that $46,000 and for the exact same time period, so don't be like, the market's not reliable, the exact same time period, February 2021 to June of 2024, I would have made a profit of $21,644. So the difference of that would be that I was up $5,000. And you know,
all right, guys, so I don't believe 100% in the numbers that she's giving, because I believe you got to factor in like how much money she was paying towards interest and how much money she was putting in towards that house versus how much she would have to pay out to somebody else to live, right? Should we calculate that? I don't know. Let me know in the comments. Am I reaching? I don't know how much she is paying in mortgage, but then let's subtract the mortgage from the rent. How many months was she living in this house versus how much money did she make by selling this house? I don't think it's as bad as she thought it was. I really think she shouldn't sell. She should probably just rent that house out. Well, some people don't want to deal with a headache, and that's when I would suggest hiring a property management company. And the reason I say this is because home ownership was not necessarily used to save money. It was used to generate wealth. Hear me out. You're supposed to get a house with your family, which is I think the first mistake she made. South Carolina education, okay? Supposed to be 2 incomes, whatever, with a boyfriend, girlfriend, I don't care. 2 incomes coming in. And when you had your family, you're supposed to live in that house until your kids get 15, 18-ish, you know, whatever. At that point, your house should have doubled in value. at least double in value. If it didn't double in value, then you have equity. You know what I'm saying? So let me use some good numbers. So $100,000 towards a house, right? You would have spent $50,000 to that house. And if you have $40,000 to put down, great. I guess we got to adjust for inflation. So let's just say she put none down. $100,000 and you live in that for 15 years. Now you just put $50,000 into that house. You have $50,000 in equity, and hypothetically, that $100,000 house is now $200,000. So out of the $100,000 that you owe, the house is now worth $200,000, but you only owe $50,000 left on the house. Y'all see how that math? $150,000 in equity while your kids is about to get out the house, and then now you have $150,000 saved up, and that's saying that she didn't put down anything. But I think that math is kind of too hard. So let's just sell the house or whatever and get out of it. Let's watch this next video.
Okay, right now I feel like I'm the only person in the world this has ever happened to because Google isn't helping me. My mom has been a realtor for maybe like 20 years and she's never seen this before. Backstory, I've been living at the current property I've been at for 2 years now. Me and my boyfriend, we just bought the house straight from our landlords in June. And so we've been living here for about a month now. Well, a few days ago, we got an email from these strangers, and I've changed names and things for, privacy reasons. I'm reaching out regarding the property you purchased and the house we're currently living in. My SO and I viewed this house in February and signed a lease on February 15th with our previous owners. We had not renewed our lease because me and my boyfriend were planning on buying a house, and it just so happened that later, like in May or so, we reached out to our landlords and they were like, oh yeah, we'll sell you this house. So we ended up staying in the house we've been renting and now we own it. Okay, anyways, we were shocked to learn that last week that the property was sold. After reaching out to the previous owner, she tried to inform us that the lease was canceled due to the sale. From my knowledge, based on leases, and everything I found on Google, leases do not get canceled just because you sold a house to someone else. No, every current lease is typically just passed on to the new owner. Don't know if he got this from Google or what source it came from, but he said leases cannot be canceled unilaterally this way. Under the law, a lease contract would follow the property to the new owner, making you and Christian is my boyfriend and we own the house together, our new landlords. Our contract legally entitles you to move into our house on August 7th. That being said, our first choice is not to pursue legal action in an attempt to move into your home. Okay, well, this would be, I feel, correct had we known there was even a lease signed for our house. We took all the right avenues. We have a title policy. We did our lender, all city government that needed to be involved in our transaction was involved in our transaction, and not once were we ever told that there was a lease on our house. And I feel like that should be the previous owner's job to write on the contract, hey, there's a lease on this property. So we believe that previous owners have put us in an uncomfortable and messy situation. Will you help us resolve this so we don't have to take legal action? Okay. Here's my response. I basically explained this is the first time we've heard of a lease being on this house, and if we had known, we would have never bought the property because we plan on living here. And I explained we've already been living here for 2 years now. We did the closing process and everything. We purchased the house directly from the previous owners. I had my mom's assistance because she's a realtor, but that she wasn't a formal realtor on our behalf or anything. She just assisted with paperwork and things. But the previous owners did not have a realtor. We are living in the home, so we would have never purchased the property. And there was never any documentation disclosing a lease existing for the property upon closing on the home. I don't know what to give them. I don't know what to tell them. I feel like all they need to know is that it was not disclosed to us that you had a lease for this property when we bought the home, so I don't want to be booted out of my home come August 7th. Where are we gonna go?
advice. Like, we closed on the home on June 13th. That's public knowledge. And he kept asking me questions, and I was trying to be like really polite, like, I hope you get this resolved with the previous owners, because like I can't help you anymore. And also, like, since you're bringing legal action into it all, like, that's a little scary to me. But I've never seen the lease. I don't have their security deposit. But like, what do you do? Where do you go from here? And has anyone encountered this before?
Woo! Big screen. All right, man. First thing I'll do, hey, take that up with the last people. Why you trying to sue me? Because ultimately, she didn't give no deposit. No deposit was given to her. She didn't sign no contract. When I know the contract does follow, I know that for sure. It does follow. You can buy a house and then keep the tenants in it. But in her situation, I think the judge was probably side with her. There's nothing you can do. To be honest, y'all, I think this is a scam. I think that company that sold her her house actually did this, and they just like, okay, she a nice person, she gonna pay. What I would do is, in that situation, I would skip trace the person's name, and I'll do a background check to see if this person is really real. And then I would tell them, hey, take it up with this company right here, send them the company information, and I'll block them or something.
Have you ever had buyer's remorse on a home you purchased? Maybe it was a gut feeling before closing. You were like, I shouldn't do this. Or after you moved in, it was like one thing after another went wrong. And you just have regrets. It definitely happens. What do you wish you would have known before you bought your house? What will you definitely find out about next time you buy? And how did you solve that problem? What was the solution? In most circumstances, buying a house that you regret means you're going to stay there from 3 to 5 years to regain some equity in order to sell it just to break even. And a couple of you are going to tell me, but I only lived in my house for a year and I got $100,000. That was several years ago. Or no, that's not happening anymore. 3 to 5 years. So what are your tips? How do you avoid buyer's remorse? My first one is to have a really good buyer's agent. But what did you miss? What did you miss on the house that you regret buying? Let us know.
All right, so home buyer's remorse is probably not a real thing. Everybody gets nervous and everybody kind of regrets buying a house. Like, unless you are a loving family that's been searching for a house and then it's absolutely perfect and it's absolutely below your means, I think that's the only time buyer's remorse don't happen. I think everybody is supposed to feel some type of feeling when you make a life-changing decision that's going to affect your life going for the foreseeable future, right? Everybody's going to have remorse, so don't feel like you're special. So with that being said, that's the end of the videos. YouTube is going to suggest that you watch another video, and it's going to suggest that you subscribe right here. Thank y'all for making it this far. Credit CEO, we out of here. Peace.